समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
This is a special episode of Karta Clutter on one of the most troublesome and disturbing stories to have emerged in several months now. It's also very polarizing and very controversial, and it is also a story on which there is a lot of clutter. So instead of me trying to lift the layers because I wasn't there, it's best to get people who were in Murshidabad and who went to Murshidabad and walked through villages, crossed the river, talked to Hindus, talked to Muslims, talked to the police, talked to politicians to bring us the story of what exactly happened in Murshidabad, because that's a question that's been raised many times. So I have Sourav Barman, who was reporting from Murshidabad for us from our political bureau in Delhi. There is Praveen Jain, who you all know. He's our photo editor. So we sent this really heavyweight team to Murshidabad. Now, Murshidabad, if I may just tell you briefly, it's a large district. Districts in West Bengal tend to be very large. For some reason, West Bengal has not created new districts, unlike most other states. Murshidabad is a large district with about 70 lakh plus population, about 71 lakhs. It also has more than 66% of its population is Muslim. There is also the history that this is the area of the Nawabs, Sirajuddaula, Mir Jafar, etc. So this was also a kind of the region of the Muslim elites of Bengal in one era, in the 19th, 18th and 19th century. It's also the district with the largest number of Muslims in absolute numbers. That is, I told you 66.2%. You might find districts in Kashmir where percentage of Muslims is higher, but overall numbers of Muslims is the highest in Murshidabad district. The district is so large that it actually has 3 parliament constituencies: Murshidabad itself, then Behrampur and Jangipur. Jangipur, you might remember, was the constituency from where Pranab Mukherjee, our former president, used to get elected. Now, it is in this area that these riots took place. These riots took place, in fact, as Sourav will explain to us, not in the entire region, but only in one subdivision, and he will tell you how many subdivisions are there, etc. However, where these riots took place, it does look like it was quite massive. An entire village, mostly Hindu village, got burnt. We have dropped all pretenses and we have dropped all hypocrisies when it comes to any communal rioting, any lynch mobs. We don't use euphemisms for either side. That era is gone. There was a time when I was a reporter, say 35-40 years ago, and I worked for Indian Express, when pictures of the Delhi massacre were not published in the Indian Express by the editor that day, B.G. Varghese, because he thought that the pictures clearly identified the victims as Muslims and that might lead to communal trouble elsewhere. However, we have now matured as a country and we should be in a position to face facts as they are. So this is the overall picture of Murshidabad, and now I turn to Sourav. Sourav, exactly what happened?
As you rightly mentioned, that Murshidabad is huge in terms of area. It has 5 subdivisions and it has 26 blocks.
It must be, if not the largest district by population in India, one of the largest.
Among the largest.
Among the
largest, and Bengal has 23 districts.
Right.
So in any case, one particular subdivision was basically hit by violence. I'll come to the violence part later. I'm just sharing the lay of the land. So Jangipur subdivision was where the violence erupted. in the wake of protests against the Waqf bill. And in Jangipur, three blocks were particularly hit: uh, Shamsherganj, Shuti, and Shuti 2. So Shamsherganj is where the villages were looted, arson took place, large-scale violence took place, and that is where 3 people were murdered. One father-son duo in a Hindu village, Horogobind Das and Chandan Das.
They were pulled out of their
They
homes.
were pulled out of the homes. They were hacked.
They were hacked by a lynch mob.
Essentially comprising people from neighboring villages. So Shamsherganj is where the Muslim population is even higher. In that particular area, Muslim population is around 93%. So there are clusters of Hindu villages also, and Jafrabad is one such village where this particular they were killed, these 2 people. And in a neighboring village, which is not very far from where this murder took place, is the residence of Ejaz Ahmed, one Muslim youth who was killed allegedly by police bullet. There was firing in an area called Shajur More, which is on National Highway 12, which basically dissects Murshidabad, and it connects Baharampur to North Bengal. So anyone traveling to North Bengal has to cross Murshidabad. So that is where large-scale violence erupted, and that police had to open fire. And we don't know who had exactly killed him, but the family members alleging that
the Muslim boy,
that he was hit by police bullet.
But then the mob went to the Hindu family and pulled out the father and the son.
Yes,
and
correct.
lynched them.
Now,
look at the map of West Bengal. That will give you an idea of where Murshidabad is located. Also, you can see how river Ganga, everything in Bengal is ultimately determined by a river, by the Ganga or one of its tributaries,
right,
isn't it? So see where this is located and see how big the district is. And as for the size of districts in West Bengal has a population of more than 10 crores, right? We don't have the census after 2011, but estimated population today is more than 10 crores, but has 23 districts. The state of Haryana, next door to Delhi, with a population of just over 2.5 crores, say 1/4 of West Bengal, has 22 districts. So this is really West Bengal style of administration with hugely oversized districts.
Yeah. In fact, where the violence broke out, that particular area, that comes under Malda South Lok Sabha constituency. It doesn't come under any of the 3 Lok Sabha constituencies in Murshidabad. So, and Malda South constituency is the only constituency which is under the Congress in West Bengal.
Yeah, and Congress has always had it.
From the time of Ghani Khan Chaudhary.
Yeah.
And right now...
And then his daughter.
Right now, the MP is Isha Khan Chaudhary, Ghani Khan Chaudhary was his uncle.
Yeah.
So that family continues to rule that area.
Praveen, you were there. You've seen many such situations in your experience, including many communal situations. So compare this with what you've seen elsewhere.
I visit Bedbona, the village, जहाँ से वो लोग भाग करके रिवर क्रॉस करके स्कूल में शेल्टर लिया था.
तो ये क्या हुआ? ये हिंदू विलेज रिवर के इस तरफ था. ये हिंदू विलेज था बेटबोना.
हाँ, हिंदू विलेज.
बेटबोना. और वहां से लोग भागे और वो गंगा नदी पार करके दूसरे किनारे गए. It'll take, I think, 20 minutes to reach there. और बाई रोड तो बहुत डिस्टेंस था, क्योंकि ब्रिज नहीं है पास में.
ना, ब्रिज नहीं है.
वो you have to cross the Farakka barrage. So it is around 40 kilometers away. It is 1 hour drive.
So 40 kilometers this way and 40 kilometers that
way.
Right? So they just crossed the river. And whatever boats they could find.
Yeah.
So about how many people escaped?
450.
Around 500 people total.
और उनको कहाँ रखा हुआ था?
वहाँ पर एक स्कूल में था. There was no electricity. नथिंग, पूरे कमरे डार्क थे. और फूड अरेंजमेंट तो बाद में इन्होंने शुरू किया, जो लोकल मेरे ख्याल है जो लोग लेके आ रहे थे. और कंडीशन वाज वेरी बैड दे वर लिविंग इन, यू नो. बट द पॉइंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एवरीबडी वाज सेइंग, जैसे राइट्स के अंदर होता है कि अननोन लोग आए हैं कि हमको नहीं पता, बट काफ़ी लोग मेरे को बोल रहे थे विलेज में भी एज वेल एज स्कूल के अंदर कि हम लोगों को जानते हैं जो आए थे. वो कहते हैं कि आइडेंटिफाई हम करने के लिए तैयार हैं. वो नॉन लोग थे, बाहर के लोग नहीं थे. जैसा कि लोग बोलते हैं कि बाहर के लोग आए, बंद कर दिया. मैंने काफ़ी राइट्स अटेंड किए हैं जिसके अंदर जो विक्टिम होता है बोलता है कि हमको पता नहीं है, पता नहीं है कहाँ से आए हैं, बट इसमें वो सब लोग आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए तैयार थे कि हमको पता है कि कौन कौन थे, अगर हमको बोलेंगे तो हम आइडेंटिफाई उनको कर देंगे.
So Saurabh, was it like a real exodus?
It was a complete exodus, Bedbona
Of one
village
community, the Hindus in this
of
case.
the Hindus in this case, and Bedbona, the village that you mentioned, which was
But
the
only from
hardest
one
hit.
village or more villages?
Primarily two villages.
Two villages.
And 90% of the displaced people were from Bedbona, which is very close to Jafrabad, where that father and son were killed. And so the attack started on the morning of the 12th, and first the attackers came, they started threatening, and all Hindu men were asked to leave that place. So after the villagers left, the mob entered those houses, they looted everything, they stripped the houses of every possible valuable thing, including jewelry and other valuables.
And these are very poor people's
Very
homes.
poor people. But interestingly, they targeted some well-to-do families as well,
Right.
which also indicates that they had some idea about the village,
About who's who.
about the families, and so they made distress calls to the BSF. So the BSF had to come and rescue most of them. So, and they started calling their relatives on the other side of the river, Bhagirathi, which is basically a tributary of Ganga. And those villagers on the other side of the river had to send boats. Gradually, they started going to the other side, and they had to take shelter in a government school called Palalpar High School, which obviously is not meant to house displaced people. But after they reached there, a lot of these organizations, starting from the RSS to the Bharat Sevashram Sangh to Ramakrishna Mission, they came forward with a lot of relief material. But obviously, the conditions were not good. It's not meant to house people.
Praveen, आपने वहाँ क्या देखा? How good was the response of the police, the administration? आपको लगा कि वो सेंस ऑफ अर्जेंसी है या आपको लगा कंफ्यूजन है या वहाँ है नहीं?
नहीं, कंफ्यूजन तो बिल्कुल था वहाँ पर, बिकॉज है ना जो स्कूल था उसके अंदर मीडिया वाज नॉट अलाउड. आई वाज वेरी सरप्राइज. तो मैं उनको जो वहाँ पर एसपी था उसको मैं काफ़ी कोशिश कर रहा था. मैंने कहा मणिपुर के अंदर हम जाते रहते हैं, वहाँ कुकी कैंप लगते हैं, मैथी कैंप लगते हैं, एंड वी आर अलाउड टू गो इनसाइड. बट हमको काफ़ी स्ट्रगल करना पड़ा अंदर जाने के लिए, क्योंकि वो कुछ चुनिंदा पेपर वालों को भेज रहे थे कि ठीक है इनको भेज दो, इनको नहीं, दिल्ली से आए हैं इनको नहीं भेजे. 2-3 और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दिल्ली से आई हुई थी. तो दे आर वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट पुलिस, लेकिन दे आर हेल्पलेस. आई थिंक कि गवर्नमेंट का प्रेशर था उनके पास कि वो अंदर नहीं भेजना है. आफ्टर 2-3 आवर्स फाइटिंग विद देम, तो किसी तरह से पुश करके हम अंदर चले गए.
लेकिन राइट कंट्रोल में पुलिस कितनी इफेक्टिव लगी आपको? आपने इतना कुछ देखा है?
नहीं, राइट कंट्रोल के अंदर यह पुलिस बिल्कुल इफेक्टिव नहीं रहती है. यहाँ पर तो राइट्स हो चुके थे, लेकिन ऐसा लग रहा था पुलिस मूक दर्शक बनी हुई है.
मूक दर्शक, साइलेंट
था. दे आई थिंक दे हैव सिंपैथी विद द जो गांव वाले उनके साथ थी.
नहीं, sympathy was with the Hindus or because it's clear
हिंदू थी, लेकिन ना दे वर हेल्पलेस. शायद गवर्नमेंट की, जैसे काफी लोगों ने मेरे को बोला कि ना जो रूरल गवर्नमेंट है, प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट है, उनका कोई नुमाइंदा हमारे से मिलने नहीं आया. तो काफी लोग को यही प्रॉब्लम थी कि कोई मिलने नहीं आया है.
That was also a refrain across that area, that police, when we called the police, when we were being attacked, no one came to our aid. It was the BSF who rescued us, and even the villagers of Bedbona, they insisted that the government has to set up a BSF camp near our village. Only then we will go back. Although they have gone back now, because the state government was obviously not happy with the fact that these many people were staying in a camp, and it was bad press for them in national media.
Besides bad press, it's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
That if you're in your own country, you become displaced persons.
Yeah. So from day one, government was not very comfortable with the camp. So which is why media was also being stopped. So as he said, we had to struggle while entering.
So did you get a sense of how this started?
Yeah, so I think there was a build-up to this. It was not a spontaneous eruption of this anguish against the Waqf bill. So I'll tell you, on the 8th of April, the violence took place essentially on the 11th and 12th of April. But on the 8th of April, there was a big gathering called by the muezzins of the area. It was a collective of muezzins So they had a rally against Waqf, where extremely provocative.
Wo isn't some Maulvis
Yeah.
as in those who give the call
for worship,
namaz.
So we went through certain video clips of that gathering, and the kind of speeches that were made were extremely provocative, and in many cases, speeches had nothing to do with Waqf, but they went on and on about how Muslims are being persecuted in India, and they spoke about Godhra, they spoke about Kashmir, they spoke about Bangladesh, and how this a spontaneous eruption of anger against the regime led to the change
Hasina
in
regime,
fall in Hasina, and how something similar should happen in India as well against the current government.
You mean Modi government?
Something. So that gathering was, incendiary speeches were given from that rally, and but there was no large-scale violence. They tried to block the national highway. There was some lathi charge. Disruptions happened. So the main bout of violence happened on the 11th. That's what we gathered from the locals after we traveled across the area. After Friday namaz, mostly young people came out on the streets. They blocked the national highway, and when the Bengal government has submitted a report in the Calcutta High Court saying that a gathering of around 10,000 people, and they were heavily outnumbered. Police personnel were not prepared, and even pistols were snatched from police personnel, and it went out of hand. They had to resort to firing, lathi charge, and which is where Ejaz Ahmed was also killed. And the next day, and that entire night and the next morning, the mobs went on rampage across the area, and which is where Haragovinda Das and his son, they were dragged out of their home and killed. So while traveling, interestingly, we also came across posters in that area by this little-known political outfit called Welfare Party of India, which has zero electoral presence, especially in Bengal. But so they had posters against the Waqf bill, asking people to rise against, to thunder against the Waqf bill. All posters in Bengali.
What does it say in Bengali?
Gorje uthun, Waqf biluddhe gorje uthun. And it says Waqf bill, which means posters were put up before the bill. It became an act. It became a law. So which means the campaign went on for a few days, and it also said how this bill was posed a direct threat to Muslim religious places, Muslim graveyards, Muslim madrasas. Everything would be taken over by the government after this bill is passed in the parliament. So that could have acted as a provocation as well.
So there was a build up to it.
There was a build up.
प्रवीण, ये लोग 450 लोग बोट्स में जाना, कितनी बड़ी बोट थी और कितना मुश्किल या संभव असंभव रहा होगा?
मैं रिवर साइड गया था. आई टेकन सम पिक्चर आफ्टर दैट इंसिडेंट टुक प्लेस. तो वहाँ पर मैं देख रहा था कि छोटी छोटी बोट भी अवेलेबल थी, और एक बड़ी बोट थी, तो उसके अंदर मेरे को लगता है कि 50-60 पीपल एक बार में आ सकते थे. तो उनको कई बार चक्कर लगाना हो.
और नदी में पानी कितना था? नदी
में पानी इज क्वाइट डीप, मतलब काफ़ी गहरी थी. आई टेकन द पिक्चर ऑफ द रिवर द सेम. तो अब इसके अंदर ये मैंने देखा, जब हम उसके फादर और बेटे का जब कवर कर रहे थे, रूमर बड़ी फैल रही थी, जैसे कि फादर और सन का जहाँ डेथ हुई थी, कि वहाँ पर लोग अचानक रूमर होती थी कि फिर से हमारे ऊपर अटैक होने वाला है, और एवरीबडी वाज रनिंग, कि मतलब बुरा हाल तरीके से भाग रहे थे. ये तो हमने नोटिस किया था.
The panic struck.
But was there communication from the state government that don't worry, we are there, we'll
So after the violence broke out, Mamata Banerjee had this open letter asking for peace and asking for asking for peace to be restored. But I think it came too late.
But didn't she put political forces on the ground, party workers, party leaders ke jao wahan check karo?
That is what,
because hers is now almost a cadre based party,
and that is another interesting aspect. In Murshidabad, so it has 3 Lok Sabha constituencies, all 3 under Trinamool. It has 22 assembly seats, out of which 20 are under Trinamool, only 2 under BJP. The 2 are,
so once again one district, one district, 22 assembly seats.
Yeah. And interestingly, one of their MLAs, the MLA of Farakka, his house was attacked, and also the house of the Jangipur MP Khalilur Rahman, both from TMC, even their houses were attacked by the mob. So even they were not immune to this whole thing. And
And why were they attacked?
I mean, no one knows. No one knows because TMC took a stand against Waqf, and there was no reason for the mob
To attack
to
TMC
attack.
people.
Yeah, even they were attacked. So, which is why I think Mamata Banerjee has made two public statements on this entire issue. And in a first statement, she blamed the BJP, she blamed outsiders, she blamed central agencies, and she also blamed the BSF. She blamed all these agencies, and she said they are responsible. They incited trouble in Murshidabad. Gave a statement where once again she blamed outsiders for the violence. She hasn't gone to Murshidabad. so
Whereas
far.
people told you that they trusted BSF more than
Yes.
the state police.
Right.
But I never saw a single cadre of this party
Yeah.
कि
TMC
विलेज
से.
के अंदर की
Or
जैसे आपने
any
बताया
other party, either the left or Congress or BJP.
no we never saw, but then social worker were doing their work
RSS was active in
the camp.
In the
In the
camp.
camp.
RSS
In the
was
camp.
Yeah.
in the camp.
And after a while, were people getting food, etc., in the camp, and some reassurance and healthcare?
No,
medical
in terms of other relief material, food, everything was okay. But obviously, the living conditions, the rooms were not.
Yes, 450 people in a
Yeah,
tiny
yeah,
school
yeah,
is
yeah.
not such
Yeah.
not such an easy thing. So the media there, how did you find the media? Was there enough media coverage, and did you find there was enough sort of robust and fair media coverage?
We saw a lot of press people from Calcutta across that area, and many of them were essentially blaming the Mamata administration for being silent
They were
spectators.
blaming it.
But
They were
जितनी
blamed,
जितनी
yeah.
उम्मीद थी मीडिया कलकत्ता से मैंने सोचा is so close to Calcutta, but उतनी भी नहीं थी.
I mean, it was 4.5 hours away from Calcutta.
But
Yeah.
4.5 hours, but तीन चार तो दिल्ली से ही हम लोग थे और बाकी तो लोकल मीडिया जितना मैंने सोचा था उतनी कवरेज के लिए नहीं आई थी. I was very surprised.
I think sometimes what happens in our country is that people start assessing riots or civil disturbances just in terms of the bodies, right? And so 3 killed.
3 killed,
So
right.
maybe it's not such a big thing, but it is such a big thing if an entire village has been burned, if nearly 500 people have had to leave their homes and cross the river and live as refugees on the other side, and then situation was quite tense for several days after
Yes.
that, and anything
Yes.
could have gone wrong. So it is a big important story, and that's the reason these two senior people went there. Praveen Jain doesn't know Bengali. I will make the confession on his behalf, but Sourav, he belongs to Tripura, speaks, but he's a Bengali. So between them, they got a good sense of what's going on. Praveen, of course, is a past master at these situations. He's covered many communal riots, much bigger and worse communal riots in the past. So he brings in the gift of experience. That's why I thought that the best way of getting underneath this story, of trying to understand how it happened, is to get these two. So you know now from Sourav that this campaign had gone on for a few days with posters with the muezzin from the mosque saying Muslims are in danger, that Waqf law will come, you will lose your graveyards, your mosques, etc., etc. So this build-up took place. It took place on WhatsApp and social media also. Government then I think blocked a whole number
internet
of
was-
accounts,
yeah,
more
yeah.
than 1,000 accounts.
Internet was also shut down.
Internet was shut down, but nearly 1,000 specific accounts were also blocked. And Praveen also gives us a visual account. And as we are speaking, you've been seeing lots of pictures that he's taken. And the pictures that we've been showing you and the maps also that we've displayed, that these tell you a really sad story. Because it doesn't matter how many people got killed in a riot, in a communal riot. Even 3 killed is 3 too many. Even 1 killed will be 1 too many.